Welcome to the Heavyweight Podcast.
The message behind saying the title of the Heavyweight Podcast is to be able to say that we can weigh on some heavy shit. You know, what we're talking about is important from every aspect of it. It's a heavy weight. It's not just about physical weight, but the weight of things that can weigh our minds. So I think it's dope that we can have this conversation.
What's up, all you beautiful people out there? I'm Des the Diva. We have a very special episode for you today. This is October, and October is miscarriage month. As you know, I've shared my story with everybody, and of course, 1 in 4 women will suffer from a miscarriage in their lifetime. I have a beautiful guest here with me today to share her story. Introduce yourself to the people out there.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kynesha. I also go by Nesha G. But yeah, my name is Kynesha, and I'm here to have a little chat today with my friend Des the Diva.
Thank you. I definitely appreciate you being here. It's really important for us to get our stories out, and my goal is to strike awareness, but kind of take some of that stigma off what happens when you have a miscarriage, because I feel like so many women are suffering but aren't willing to really say that they need the help so they can get the help that's necessary. Right.
Like there could be I don't want to say shame, but maybe like the feeling of disappointment.
Yeah, and you know what?
Yeah.
Shame is fair. That's a fair thing to say, because some women do kind of compute it as they should be ashamed, and they shouldn't.
And they shouldn't be.
Absolutely. You want to share your story with the people?
Yeah. So let's see. This was 5 years ago. I can't believe it's been that long already, actually. Like about 4.5, 5 years ago. Oddly enough, I didn't even know I was pregnant. So our daughter was 2 at the time. And I remember one memory that sticks out is before all this happened, I was getting ready for work one day, and I was just kind of like, not necessarily feeling myself, but I was just like, let me just go through the motions. And Maurice, my husband, he was like, you should take a pregnancy test. And I was like, no, like I had went through a pregnancy already. So now at this moment, I'm thinking I'm a vet. Like I'm a know I'm pregnant, because the first time when we were trying for our daughter, I didn't know I was pregnant then either, but I was taking pregnancy tests like all the time because we were trying to get pregnant. So that's how I found out I was pregnant. So he had told me, he was like, why don't you take a pregnancy test? And I was like, no, like I'm good. Like, everything should be fine. So, fast forward, I'm at work, and this was probably, I want to say maybe a month later. And I was at work, and I'm in my office, and I had just gotten off a really stressful call, and I'm sitting there and I'm trying to do work, and I can feel like myself stressed. Like I could physically feel stressed. And I'm sitting at my desk, and I just feel like this gush. And as I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, what is going on? And so I go to the bathroom, and I'm like, okay, like thinking it's my period, but my period's never happened like this before, but okay, like, and I kind of let it go on. So that went on for like most part of the day. And then I get home that evening, and I go to the bathroom, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? Like something doesn't feel right, so I call my sister, and immediately, like when I'm having this whole experience, because it's not like my normal menstrual cycle, the first thing that came to my mind was, oh my gosh, like, am I having a miscarriage? So I called my sister, and she's a nurse, and I'm explaining to her like all the symptoms that I'm having, and I'm explaining to her like what I'm looking at right now in the bathroom. And she's like, she gets quiet, and she's like, yeah, I think you just had a miscarriage. And she's like, you need to take a pregnancy test. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like it went from like me trying to ignore what the possibility is, know? So I'm just kind of like, no, because if I don't take the pregnancy test, then I could like not know, and it won't mess with me. You know what I mean?
I get that.
Especially because he was like, just 4 weeks ago, he was like, you should take a pregnancy test. So all of that started, coming up, and I'm like, I don't want to have to sit with that.
Yeah.
So my sister's on the phone, and she was like, no, you do. She was like, you need to take a pregnancy test, because if you were pregnant and then this is what's happening, she was like, you might be going through a miscarriage, and you're going to have to go to the hospital. She was like, you can't, like, this isn't something you can just like hope goes away. And so I was just like, okay. So I muster up the strength and I take a pregnancy test, and the pregnancy test was positive. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I just remember like my heart sinking, you know what I mean? And so I was like, okay, do I call him now? Should I call him like should I wait till he gets home from work? So I ended up calling him, and he's like, what's going on? What's he's at work. He was like, what's going on? Are you okay? And I was like, I don't think I'm okay. And he was like, what's wrong? And so then I started crying, and I was like, babe, I think I just had a miscarriage. And he's like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, are you okay? Like, of course, he was concerned. He's like, how are you feeling? Are you okay? But I could hear it in his voice too, and he was like, are like, what happened? Like, why do you think that? And I was like, well, I just took a pregnancy test and it was positive, and like I've been experiencing some bleeding, and like it's not normal bleeding. And he's like, okay, I'm coming home. So he comes home, we go to the doctor. I explain to them what's happening. They give me the ultrasound and everything like that. And so she comes back in the room, and she was like, you were positive for, the test. The test came back positive. She was like, but when we did the ultrasound, she was like, there's nothing there. She was like, you pretty much like passed it.
Right.
And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Okay.
That's a lot to swallow at one time.
It's a lot. So, yeah. So from then on, I was kind of like in shock.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a shock. And then I think I went through the whole, trying to protect myself and like my emotions. So then it kind of went from like being upset, being sad, being disappointed, and then me doing things like telling myself like, well, I mean, you didn't know you were pregnant. So like, and it was still really early. Like the doctor was like, it had to be super early because it was, you were able to like pass it. And I'm just like playing those kind of games. But then it always reverts back to like when I'm in the car, I'll be like, I should have 2 kids back there.
I get it.
Or like, you know what I mean? Or when, when we talked about having more kids, like after that happened, in my mind, I would be like, we wouldn't have to talk about having more kids if we already had our 2. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I mean? And which is really weird because originally when I was younger, I wasn't even sure that I wanted kids. Mm-hmm. And I always said to myself, I would make that decision and know and try to start 4 kids if I wanted kids when I got to my 30s. Because in my mind, I was like, I should have a pretty good handle on like if I want children or not by the time I'm 30. And I found out I was 7 weeks pregnant. Mm-hmm. On my 30th birthday. So that couldn't have worked out
any better than that, right?
So, but then of course, when you have your first one, we had the whole conversation about going back to back, and then I decided not to. And then when all this happened, it made me feel guilty because I'm like, if I just would have followed my first plan and just went back to back, maybe this wouldn't have happened. Or my biggest thing is if I didn't allow work to affect me so much, then I would still have my baby. Because when all this happened, it was the stress I was dealing with at work. Mm-hmm. And when this originally started, all of this started at work.
I get it. You can't fault yourself for that, though.
I know, but it's just hard because I'm like, I remember that moment sitting in my office, coming off of that call and the way I was feeling. And I felt stressed, like when your ears get hot and like you just feel like the weight of the world on you. And I remember sitting in my office and like having all of those emotions and feeling like physically feeling the stress. And then the moment that I started feeling that way, that's when it happened. That's when the bleeding started. So then, you go through the whole, like, it's my fault.
I definitely gone through that. I definitely have gone through that.
It's my fault. And then it's like, well, if I can't handle my stress in a way that would be, not so detrimental to my body, I don't want to put myself through that again. I don't want to have to put my husband through that again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I get that.
It's difficult, but yeah.
I definitely get that. I appreciate you sharing your story the way that you just did. I understand where you're coming from when you say like, okay, I feel like it's my fault. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I also feel like when women have miscarriages, there's not a lot of like treatment after.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the aftercare
Yeah.
is so important. They're not telling you how to replenish your body with your iron, your vitamin D, and there's no mental health aftercare.
Right. Just like you would do for postpartum, like after you
Exactly.
have a baby.
It should be the same care. That's definitely
because your body still has gone through a change. Like
exactly
the minute the baby is there, your body instantly starts compensating for
exactly
it. In every way, shape, or form. Your body instantly starts to like give that baby everything it needs, so it starts to deplete you of the resources that you have to create a life.
And if you didn't know that you were pregnant, you've not been able to take supplements and kind of try to replenish while you're pregnant. So I can definitely understand how stressful that situation was altogether for you. So I'm really sorry that you went through that.
Thank you.
Definitely happy that you're here to tell your story.
Me too.
Definitely. And just hope that we're able to encourage someone today.
Yeah.
So I did just want to ask you, what methods of healing did you use after your loss?
For me, it was a lot of like sitting with myself, sitting with like my faith. I'm one of those type of people, like I can have a down moment, or I could be like, feeling down, feeling negative, if you say, but it does not last long. Like my brain physically can't stay in that place for long periods at a time. My heart can't stay in that place for long periods at a time. So a lot of just sitting with myself, sitting with my faith, for me, like the meditating and the praying and focusing on the things that I can be grateful for. So yes, I did experience a loss, but like I say, every single day, I also got to experience being a mother because I still have a child who is here. So as difficult as it is, it's like I still have her, and I can look at her and be like, you made it, girl. Like, you know what I mean? Like that. you made it. You were wanted. I worked for you. You know what I'm saying? But really just loving on my baby girl and just taking time for myself. And taking time for myself to really let me know that I didn't do anything wrong.
Absolutely.
I didn't do anything wrong. It wasn't something that was like, intentional. It wasn't something that was, something where I was just like being careless or anything like that. So me being able to sit with that and being able to have the conversation about it, because for a little while, like we wouldn't even talk about it because I wouldn't want to bring it up to him. Like, even though I was feeling terrible, I didn't want to bring it up to him because part of me still felt disappointed for him.
I get that.
Like I felt disappointed for my husband, you know what I mean? And then that's where the shame for myself would start coming in, because it's like the one thing that I should be able to do is give you kids. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and I know how excited he would have been to have another baby and all this other stuff. So I would just kind of hold that and keep it to myself. So when I really started to try to start with me and work on myself, I had to let myself know, like, take it back. Look from the outside. If you were talking to somebody else who was experiencing this and they were feeling the way you were feeling, what would you say to them? That's how I always look at it. And it's like, if I were talking to me outside of me, you didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
There is nothing wrong with you. You know what I mean? These things do happen. Unfortunately, it is a part of life. Like even when I was pregnant with our first daughter and we went to the doctor, I remember one of the questions they asked me was, what number pregnancy is this for you? And I was like, oh, my first one. And then the next question was, how many kids do you have?
Yeah.
And I was like, this will be my first one. But it didn't dawn on me that they ask that because your pregnancies don't accumulate to how many kids you have.
Yeah. And I wish they quit asking me that, because I'm like, you see the charts.
I wish you quit asking me that.
Read the damn chart. You see,
you have all the information there, sir.
If you watch the podcast, damn it.
You would know.
You would know what's going on with me.
Yeah. But I mean, that's essentially what it was. It's just like, okay, this is a part of my story.
Yeah.
This is a part of my journey. And it's not gonna look the same for other people, you know?
True.
And when I had a conversation with a old coworker who was experiencing infertility, and she was on, I believe at that time she was on year 4. Her and her husband were on year 4 of like their fertility journey, you know, and she, you know, started the IVF and everything. And I remember just thinking to myself, like, there are other people who are having a much different experience.
Yes.
Than I am.
Yes.
Right. So I can be like, although I can appreciate everyone's experience, like that's where the gratitude comes in. You know what I mean? That's why I say I try to focus on the things that I can be grateful for. It's like, I may not have all the things that I want. I may not have the family I thought I would have, but I can be grateful for what I do have.
Right. Right. I mean, because in my instance, I don't have children.
Right.
And I've had several miscarriages. And I think it took until like my 4th or 5th miscarriage for me to even really register what was happening to me. I was the first miscarriage I had, I was kind of just like, okay.
Okay, yeah.
The second one, I lived out of state and my family was here in California.
So you're by yourself.
So I was by myself. So luckily I had like amazing friends in the state that I was in to lean on and to kind of be there for me, because otherwise I probably would have lost my mind.
Right.
Then I had 2 more back to back. But when I lost my twins, then I was like, because I remember laying in the bed and telling God, if you're going to take one.
Yeah.
But please do not take 2.
Yeah.
You know? And for me, that's always my hardest experience.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, damn, 2? Like,
yeah.
You know? But that was when I actually began to sit with myself.
Yeah.
And because I don't have children to pour that love into, I've poured it into other women like me. Because no one knows what to say to you unless they go through the experience. They just, I've heard some of the wildest, like,
and it's so true. Like the whole, you don't understand until you've had the experience. You can come from a place of like people trying to support you. They're trying to make you feel okay. They're trying to like help you emotionally, but it's different when you've had someone who physically knows what you're going through. You know what I mean? It's not to discredit the people that try to be in our corner. Like, I appreciate you trying to be in my corner. I appreciate, you know, like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I hate that you have to experience. I appreciate that. But when you can relate to somebody in a way where they have a shared experience, then it's a little different, because now you kind of feel like you do know what that feels like.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You like how my husband always says, he's like, I lost a child too, but I didn't lose a child like you did.
Yes.
I lost a child,
understands that.
But I don't know what it's like to be pregnant. I don't know what it's like to feel life inside of me, but like I did lose a child too. And I would always tell him, I appreciate you saying that, because yes, you lost a child too, but it's like, that child was in me. Like, it was my responsibility to like take care of that child from its inception.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And even though I can say like I didn't do anything wrong, you still carry a little piece of that with you, because it's like, for me, I was like, okay, well, what's going on with my body? Like,
yes,
what you know what I mean? Is there something we overlooked? Like, do I need to go back and have a conversation with my doctor? Like, which I did. Because then I was just like, let's run all the tests. Like, is everything okay? Like, are my levels good? Like, what's going on? And she's like, no, like, you're fine. Like, these things literally just happen sometimes.
Absolutely.
They just happen.
And for women, especially Black women, we need to advocate for ourselves, because in my instance, I wasn't told until like the year before last that there was a problem. They kept telling me, oh, people just lose babies. Oh, no, people don't lose 4, 5, 6 babies
at a time.
This is not normal. And as Black women, we don't know what to ask, or as women in general, we don't know what to ask, and we need to advocate for ourselves, because
but
they'll
some
brush
people don't
it
know
off.
how to advocate for themselves.
That's very true.
And then you also have doctors who how do I put this? I don't want to say they don't care. I will just say that some doctors in their bedside manner
Oh yeah.
are
Oh.
some are a little subpar.
Baby, let me tell you, I lost one of my babies and my stepdad was in the room with me. It was my stepdad and I think my stepsister. And the doctor came in and I was laying in the bed. She grabbed my foot and said, well, the baby's gone. We're going to go ahead and get your paperwork and get you out of here. My stepdad could not get out of that chair fast enough.
She did not.
He was ready to kick that woman's ass. He could not get out that chair fast enough. He was so upset and he was just like, I cannot take how they talk to you. Like I can't. Like I cannot.
It really is something. When we first found out we were pregnant with Phoenix, my first action of business was to find my own doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was not about to go to whoever they recommended me to. I was on a mission. When I tell you I was on a mission, yeah. I was on a mission. And when I found my doctor, I have not left her side since.
Your husband spoke about her.
I have not left that woman's side since. And when I tell you, it's like she has her own practice now, which has been really great as well. But just her bedside manner, the care that she gives, the questions that she asks, like if you're not asking the right questions, she's gonna tell you like, this is what I think we should do. Like these are the questions that you should be asking me right now, because this is what I want you to consider, or this is what I want you to look at, or I know you didn't come in here for this, but like based on my experience, women experience this. One of the key things that I love about her is she has told me before, she's like, the way our bodies are, especially women of color, our bodies may need different testing that aren't necessarily tests that a traditional, like your regular primary would test for. Mm-hmm. But she'll say like, because this has been shown in more women of color than non-women of color. So we're going to test this just to make sure. Or we're, like she's very like detailed. She explains everything. She's like, are you comfortable with that? Do you need, like, she was one of my first doctors, like after all this happened, and when I went to her and we were like talking about the testing and like asking her about everything to do like afterwards, she sat with me in my doctor's appointment. I kid you not. When's the last time you sat with your doctor for 30 minutes in an appointment?
Yeah.
35 minutes. She let me talk. She didn't interrupt me. She didn't like try to rush along. She let me spill my whole guts out in that room. And then we talked about the care that I needed. We talked about the test she wanted to run, everything, even things that she wanted me to have discussed with him about making sure like everything's good with my husband. And then she was like, I also, think that maybe you should talk to somebody. Like if you're comfortable with that, I think it would be really beneficial for you to maybe see a therapist. Yeah. How often do you get that with your doctor?
That's extremely important. The doctor that I had with my twins, I've had the same doctor since my twins on. She's very much like that. Yeah, like, she's the reason I was able to kind of get my mental health on track. I was suffering and struggling and didn't compute that I was suffering and struggling. I just thought like, I'm just tripping right now. Whatever, I'll be fine. Yeah. No, I was struggling. Like,
no, I was on the struggle bus.
Baby, I was on the edge.
You were sitting right there in the front seat.
Baby, okay? With a helmet on, baby. I was tore up.
I was right there.
Baby, I was tore up.
Yeah, and because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
You don't know what you don't know. So I appreciate doctors like that. Shouts out to Dr. Lysath. I appreciate doctors like that.
Your husband gonna be mad you said it online because he didn't even want to tell us what her name was, because he said he didn't want everybody going to y'all doctor. He wouldn't even tell me.
he always says, how's Nadine?
Yes. I told him, I know your wife's number. I'll text her and ask her what that doctor. One woman knows another. She'll give me the doctor's number.
My doctor gave me her phone number.
I love that.
And she was like, if you have any questions, like, call me directly. And I remember I went to see her, I think it was like 2 months ago, and I was having some issues with my primary doctor, and she did her residency with my primary doctor.
Oh, okay. Look, so yeah, I know them.
But I had told her, I said, you know what? This is what I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start going to my doctor's doctors.
Yeah.
I said, so I want to see who you see for a primary.
That's very smart.
Because I know you guys are they got to meet a criteria for you guys to see them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're gonna go to the best.
Yeah, I want my therapist to give me her therapist number.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to see your
Who
therapist.
Who you see? Because I need to know.
And let me test them out and see if they work for me too.
Exactly.
And she was like, I have no problem with that. She gave me a list of her doctors.
I love that.
I want to see your doctors.
I'm gonna need her information.
Yeah, I'm gonna need her information. I was like, don't worry about it. I'm sure my insurance will cover it. Give me your information.
Exactly.
And we'll work out the rest.
Exactly.
At this point, give me a dentist too.
Yeah. Everybody.
I want everybody.
Okay.
Give me everybody.
Period.
But yeah, I think that the doctors are like the bedside manner and the aftercare, like you were saying, is super important.
Absolutely.
There's just there isn't any.
Absolutely. I don't know if Maurice shared with you that I am in the process of developing a nonprofit.
No.
I am. It's called Mothers of Chosen Angels.
Oh.
We want to be able to try to aid women with their aftercare.
Okay.
After having a miscarriage.
Okay.
So I am in school to be a therapist. I don't know if he don't tell you nothing. Girl, just call me because he probably tell you the crazy stuff about me, but he don't never tell the good stuff. He wants y'all to know I'm crazy, but he don't want y'all to know I'm smart.
He don't want y'all to know that I am a balanced person.
Exactly.
I got a little bit of both.
Yeah.
A little bit of both.
I teeter-totter, damn it.
Don't play with me.
Exactly.
Don't do it.
Exactly. But yeah, we want to be able to try to aid women after because there is no time off for us. Right. There is no break.
Right.
And there's nothing worse than people knowing you were pregnant and then you got to go back into society.
Oh, gosh.
And they are just ready to ask you all the questions they probably should not be asking you.
Yeah. But you know what I found too is that some of those people who ask the questions have experienced it themselves, but because of the shame and the guilt that they feel, they don't like to make it known, but they want to know what your experience was to kind of like see if it aligns with what their experience was. Does that make sense?
Yeah, now that you say that, I can see that that's probably happened to me before. What are some of the things that people have said to you while the people you were able to share your experience with that maybe they shouldn't have said, that maybe you kind of want to bring awareness to them, people not saying this?
I didn't have anything that like people shouldn't have said because I know it was coming from a good place. Some of the things that I don't like to hear, even though, like I said, it comes from a good place. We don't fault people for trying to be supportive. God has a plan.
I can't stand that.
Yes, I understand that he does. And no, I'm not trying to like discredit the fact that like God has a plan. I am faith-based, but in the moment, I'm just having a real human experience.
I can't stand that.
And you know what I mean? And it's like, I get it, but I'm having a real human experience right now. Yes. So I just need, I would prefer to feel that human connection.
Yes.
Right now too, because I know he's watching over me. I know that he knows what my journey is.
Absolutely.
That I sit well in that, but right now I need that human connection.
Yes, and this may not be let me turn to the camera when I say this. This may not be everyone's way of computing this, but let me explain to you how it goes through my mind. You're telling me God has a plan in that moment. Now listen, if they say it to me later, I don't mind.
Yeah.
But in the very beginning stages, I'm furious because I'm already mad.
Yeah.
And I'm already angry.
You got
raw edges. And then
I know that
there's crackheads with babies.
Oh, gosh.
There's people that shouldn't have children, people that are leaving them on doorsteps and all types of stuff. And then you're telling me like, well, God has a plan. Well, what was the plan with the crackhead? Because now you're telling me this and I'm looking at people like,
okay,
God planned that?
So I saw a young lady standing outside I was getting some food one day, standing outside with a tank top on, jeans that were open because she can't button them because she was pregnant, like pregnant, visibly clear pregnant, like belly button about to stick out pregnant. And she was smoking a cigarette.
Thank you. Furious.
And when I tell you, I was like,
It infuriates
You
you.
have got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding. Like, and you don't want to compare, right? Because that's not your place. But I just can't help but to think, like, it's just like the same thing, like in society where you see people who like don't follow the law or they break the law, but it appears that they have like the most success, and then you have people who try to ride the straight and narrow, and it's like they have the most difficult path.
Yep.
It's like it's the same thing. It's like, what do you mean? Like I did all these things that I was taught that I was supposed to do, only to get the short end of the stick. Meanwhile, this person can do and live life however they want.
Yep.
But they're getting what appears to be the biggest rewards and the biggest blessings. Like, how was that fair?
Exactly. Exactly.
How was that fair? You know, and I remember at the time I was thinking, because I had a, this was prior to even me having my first child, I had a coworker who was in her mid-40s, and she said her and her husband tried for years and it just never happened. They ended up adopting. But I remember seeing the woman smoking the cigarette who was pregnant and instantly thinking about my coworker.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you have a 2-person household, loving people who want nothing more than to give their love to like a child, you know, and they ended up adopting, but I just couldn't help but to think like,
yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what runs through my mind.
Yeah, like, and you start feeling like that's unfair. Like, even though like you can have a faith, you all the things, you're still having a human experience.
Mm-hmm.
And the human part of you is like, I feel like I'm being cheated.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
That feels very unfair to me, and I don't understand.
That's exactly how I feel. Exactly.
I don't understand.
Exactly. What are some of the more encouraging things that you've heard?
More encouraging. Well, I guess that's perspective, isn't it?
It definitely is. It definitely is perspective.
It's more perspective. Well, the first person that I had talked to about it was, I believe it was my mother-in-law. It was my mother-in-law. She was the first person that I knew outside of my husband, and she was just like, "Niche, I'm so sorry." She was like, "I'm really sorry that you're going through that." And she just kind of, she just kind of like, for lack of better verbiage, made it about me. You know, she was just like, "I'm sorry that you're going through that. I am." And I was like, "Thank you." And like that was it. But
that was the perfect verbiage that you just used, because sometimes it does need to be about you.
Absolutely. And that's what some people don't understand. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes things need to be about you. Yeah. And if anybody makes you feel bad about that, let them go do what they're going to do.
Exactly.
Because this is a moment that I'm experiencing. And the fact that you acknowledge that it's something that I'm going through, and you didn't try to take it away by saying like, "Oh, you know, I've done that too," or, "You know what, such and such, they just went through something."
I don't even half-ass want to hear how somebody else feels about what I'm going through.
Right.
I don't want to hear you're going through that. It breaks me down.
Yeah.
You ain't more broken down than I am about it.
About it.
Chill
right.
out.
Right. So when she said that, I was just like, thank you. It didn't give me like a reaction of like, oh,
yeah,
here we go. Like, I don't want to hear that. It was just like, I'm sorry you're experiencing that.
I get that.
I'm so sorry.
For me, it was my granny.
Oh no.
Like, my granny, I sat with her one day and she kind of gave me like our family like history so that I could give it to the geneticist.
Yeah.
But then she looked at me and was like, "I can't let you lose your faith.
Yeah.
You deserve this. You deserve to be a mom. You deserve to continue with your faith. You deserve to trust God on this. And I cannot let you lose your faith. So as long as I'm breathing, I'm praying with you."
Yeah. You said granny.
Granny. Girl.
Granny girl.
I really just came to find out the recipe to the pies, and you over here talking about girl.
Granny.
Yes, but she's been like my biggest, like, secretly, because I think a lot of people don't know the conversations I've had with her about it. She's been one of my biggest supporters.
Of course.
Like, just always knowing
think about
exactly
the
what
things
to say.
Granny has gone through.
Yeah, and she shared some with me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, like, think about all the knowledge and wisdom that she has. And it's like she she can see you. It's not just the experience that you're having. She can see you.
Yes, she was the first person that I felt like, although, and I say this all the time, and I want to make sure I'm clear, I have a bomb ass support system for this. Like bomb, from my mom, my sister, my friends. I have like 12 siblings.
Yeah.
So we are definitely like
you have a foundation for
super bomb support system. But my granny, it's not even that she sees me, she feels me like on an organic level. She literally,
because you are her.
It's like she catches every tear I drop. She knows.
Yeah,
like
you're her.
Completely. And
it came from her.
Man, I couldn't appreciate anybody more than her. She's like
A1
when it comes to that.
I'm so grateful that you have your granny.
Thank you. I am too. I really appreciate it.
And that you have a good relationship with her, because that's different.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
You know what I mean? There's having a granny.
Definitely.
And then there's having a granny.
You got a granny. Yeah.
I got my granny.
Exactly. Exactly. Last question.
Yeah.
Tell the girls something that you would say to encourage a woman who's been in our situation.
I would say don't give up. It's your journey. If it's in your heart, truly to want to be a mother, don't give up.
Yeah.
And maybe it doesn't look like what you think it's supposed to look like. But I guess that's where the faith comes in at, right?
Absolutely.
Because even through all that you've experienced, look what's treading behind that. Like, you're starting a nonprofit. You're speaking to other women. You're speaking life into other women. Like, that's still you putting yourself into something. So even though it hasn't had a physical form yet, you're creating. Yeah. You're still creating, So that's what I would say, like, just don't give up. And I do think, because even for myself, I do think we have to not let go of what we think our ideal family looks like, but maybe we can just be a little bit more open to new ideas of what that family could look like.
Yeah, definitely.
I
agree.
And because it's just have your heart open.
I agree.
Like that feeling of wanting to create and care is there for a reason.
Definitely.
But
I definitely agree.
Don't give up. Like, don't give up.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a firm believer in my case that God's using me. I can't even get that out my head. I feel like God is using me.
And you can feel that.
Yeah, there's no way I've gone through this in vain. There's absolutely no way. So I know that God is using me to be encouragement for others and to be that support. My advice to women who have gone through this and who may be potentially going through this in the future, of course, I agree with don't give up.
Yeah.
That's definitely the main thing.
Yeah.
But don't place the blame on yourself.
Right.
Don't sit in that blame, because you will end up making yourself sick. Mentally, physically, and don't be afraid to get the help that you need. If you need therapy, if you need someone to talk to, reach out.
It's nothing to be ashamed of.
Absolutely not.
It's nothing to be ashamed of.
Absolutely not. In fact, you are definitely making your angel baby proud if you go get the help that you need. So I definitely encourage that.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a very special episode of the Heavyweight Podcast. We thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate you.
Thanks.
This was a beautiful experience. Thank you so much. And we love you, and thank you guys for watching.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Ooh, sweating. That's a wrap, y'all. That's how she wrote. So make sure you click like, subscribe. Tune in. We on all streaming platforms. So until next time, we'll holla at you.